In the modern industrial world, the birth of a combat vehicle is not just a product of metal, machinery, and technology. It is a combination of courage, tenacity, and the vision of someone who dared to think of the seemingly impossible. Today, we will delve into the story of one engineer, a thinker whose blueprint was deemed unrealistic, too complex, even a pipe dream. Yet, from that blueprint, a war machine was born that would ultimately change the course of history. The modern tank, rolling off the production line like an industrial marvel. This is the story of an impossible idea that eventually became rolling steel.
His name was Elias R. Murdoch, a 32-year-old mechanical engineer. He worked deep in the corner of an old, almost forgotten factory. He wasn't the boss, not the team leader, not even the favorite employee. But there was one thing that set him apart: his obsession with designing a next-generation tank, one that could be produced quickly, cost-effectively, and still be strong enough to withstand the surprises of the modern battlefield. Every night, when the workers went home, the small lamp on his desk remained on. There, he scratched line after line, creating a blueprint that felt like the future to him, but to everyone else, an impossible fantasy.
Elias's blueprint featured something never before attempted: modular armor, protective layers that could be installed and removed in minutes. A hybrid mechanical-electric powertrain, reducing engine heat and noise. A new suspension that would allow the tank to travel faster over rough terrain. An ergonomic crew compartment so soldiers wouldn't just survive inside the steel. The problem? Each component required specialized machinery, new welding techniques, and production lines that didn't yet exist. The factory's executive team resisted. Some seniors dismissed it as a pipe dream. One even patted him on the shoulder and said, "Elias, a great idea doesn't mean it can be built." But Elias didn't give up. One day, the world changed. An intelligence report revealed that enemy tanks had evolved rapidly, lighter, quieter, and more powerful. The Ministry of Defense panicked and issued an ultimatum. Factories had to produce a new design within 18 months. Everyone was confused except for one man, Elias. He brought his blueprints to a makeshift meeting room, unrolled a large roll of paper, and for the first time, all eyes were on him. One of the generals asked, "Can this be built?" And Elias answered honestly, "Not if we stick with the old methods, but it can if we dare to start over." That answer sparked a spark of change. With his new authority, Elias embarked on the unprecedented, eliminating 40% of the old production line, implementing high-precision welding robots, transforming the assembly system into a modular assembly line where each tank part was assembled like a giant Lego piece, shortening inspection times from daily to step-by-step sessions. Many workers were confused, some were in disbelief. Old machines that had been operating for decades suddenly stopped. But step by step, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Obstacles came one after another: the welding technique, a suspension that broke during an initial test. The hybrid powertrain's energy consumption was twice as high as expected. The deadline loomed like a dark shadow. Elias stayed with the engineers until the early hours of the morning every night. He redrawn the blueprints, retested them, remodified them over and over again. One day, after the 39th failed test, one of the senior engineers said, "We may not be able to make this tank perfect." Elias replied quietly, "We're not chasing perfection, we're chasing the future." Then the day came. In the middle of the factory floor, the first prototype stood, Unit 01. It was raw, crude, but real. When the engine started, it made a soft sound. When it moved, the suspension absorbed shocks smoothly. And during test firings, the armor module held up better than previous generations of tanks. The workers cheered. Some even cried. The prototype wasn't just a tank, it was proof that the impossible could be made real. After the success of Unit 01, something even more extraordinary happened. The Elias blueprint wasn't just a tank design. It became the blueprint for the factory of the future. Over the next 3 months, tanks began rolling off the assembly line, one every 9 hours. The modular system allowed for model variations without stopping production. Robots and humans worked side by side in harmony. The factory, once on the verge of closure, was now in the international spotlight. Generals who had once hesitated now stood in awe as the steel machines rolled like works of art. Years later, the industrial world asked, how did that old factory get back on its feet? How could modern tanks be produced so quickly? How did that great innovation come to be? The answer is simple. Because an engineer dared to draw something that was considered impossible. And because the factory dared to make that dream a reality. Today, Elias's blueprints are displayed in a glass case, torn, scribbled, and faded. But their value is immeasurable. They symbolize that innovation doesn't start with machines, but with the mind. From the courage of a person to imagine what doesn't yet exist. And from the determination not to give in to the words impossible. Those tanks, now rolling off the assembly line, are living proof that impossible is just a word until someone proves otherwise.